Good morning, everybody. This session will be slightly different because we talked a lot about what we're building, how we're improving all those technologies. And I'm focused more about how these technologies are adopted in the organizations, how they are actually used. With Vibe Engineering, we see a lot of things being created, but struggling to get the adequate usage and live through in the organizations. I'm basically a chief architect at Microsoft, advising the CTOs and CIOs of Fortune 500 organizations. I focus on their AI transformations and both how to build with AI, but also how to build agents which are worth to purchase and create the new business models for them. And also at the same time, I running as a technical lead our own sales or customer success account transformation, where we have around 700 people, and we're building our own agentic systems to help us to run accounts better and uplift the quality of how we run our own business. And I would like to start maybe with a concept called enterprise unicorn. Right? We heard about like one-person unicorns to be, and this is a bit looking at what it takes, maybe how that could look like in the larger organization, which has over 10,000 people. And what it will be as a shape and form in there. And I believe a lot of that going towards, rather than talking about the headcount, is going about how we're going to operate in, let's say, a few years. And I call it either a mission control or a command center. Basically having a human, an agent, a shared state where we have a pre-built signals based on which we can act in the organizations, even before we ask questions. The chats are more things of dealing with exceptions and trying to capture those as a new signals, which we have to make the decisions in the organizations. And it really, like I would say, a simple test of this will be that how many meetings we will need to have to sync internally as an organizations. In ideal state, we won't need those meetings because everybody is on the same page as we capture that intelligence within the organization. And as usual, it all starts with the waves, right? We started with chats, with assistants. Now we kind of have the management of agents where we run the task. They run for a while, but then they still need our steering, or we don't have developed the trust into them. And we want to move to the delegation and remote execution, what we see with promise of the open claw, automated agents running parts of our businesses. And I still would say that majority or a lot of the enterprises, large organizations, are in that micromanage state because of a couple of things that we just have the system access to the systems which needs to be connected to really done the work. For example, I'm a salesperson. I need to connect to like 3 to 4 different systems, and I need to have access to those, combine that information, right, to bring and build that one mission control system. But that's not enough, right? I need an intelligence how we as an organizations are using that, and that usually the vendors cannot build. That needs to be built by the organization internally, and therefore there are still, I would say, in the micromanagement state because we have those connectors, but that company intelligence still needs to be developed in the organization. So I would say like moving to the delegation piece will really require that wider system access to have all that information to bring it in one place, plus the tacit knowledge of the organization to develop the trust on top of those workflows. And because of how we see how the organization, or let's say the technology evolves, we see new models every 3 months, we see new frameworks, harnesses to being positioned. The CIOs and CTOs have really tough questions there, like how I find the clear direction, how I bet on what technologies to evolve and upskill my organization to survive such waves of different technologies. Imagine like if you have 10 people in your organization, it's pretty much a daily business to also learn and adjust. However, if you have an organization of 10,000 people, it requires a lot of coordination efforts, communication, enablement, strategy. And if there is no clear direction to that, usually what happens is either people wait or they start building on their own, which then creates one part is just stale organization, the other one is basically creating a shadow IT with web engineering that's even booming, and then it's very difficult to create a governance, right? Ideally, the companies want to operate like a small city with clear laws, but also freedom to experiment within those boundaries. That's also where the efforts then going really in terms of standardization, right? We need to have a standardization in terms of the governance, in terms of the policies. We do have to enable those laws to be around, and then allow those on the edge actually to build and innovate, because there is that tacit knowledge captured in the organization. We don't know centrally, let's say in the organization, what's happening, what are the nuances, how the organization operates, and we need to have both of those. So a lot of questions come to what I buy and what I build. Where is the mode and where is a commodity in that space? And I would say what we a lot see, like the models, the agent harness, the connectors, that's all a commodity which you ideally focus on buying. But then the mode for the organization is their company intelligence. How I capture that intelligence of my organization. And an example from our side is, I'm running a report. We have a reporting system which has around 400 reports, right? I have a connector to it, but that connector is just giving me access to go and query those reports. However, what I need to do is really to understand how my expert teams are using those reports, when they use what. And that's basically what we also do. Is one layer is just the connector itself, the other one is going and crawling those systems, creating a kind of navigation, like mental model, capturing how my employees are going and retrieving that information, right? Because that allows me to actually have agents which I can trust, have agents which are making less mistakes. They are not kind of these junior intern employees. They are experts, and they're even better than I am in doing that job. And that also then, with the latency and the cost, actually reducing, because they make less mistakes on achieving that specific task. And that's basically like where we saying also this company intelligence is something durable. It's where you want to capture those nuances, right? You can have let's say, global sales book that can be shared globally, but then the nuances, how we handle, let's say, our accounts in Germany, or how the others handle accounts, let's say, in Japan, it's very different nuances, which you can't globalize and generalize, and needs to be captured on that edge level. And once you know, like, what you want to build and what you need to, let's say, buy, it also comes with the kind of the operating model, meaning that you have that central spine where you're building, let's say, the key connectors to the system, right? You don't want to have your field to go and do the authentication and authorizations, integrations to the key critical systems. You want to have that done centrally. So you provide that access to the data for the teams, but then also on the other side, you for the edge, on the edge for your employees allowed to, let's say, build around it. They focus more on how to capture the knowledge of that day-to-day task and operations. Because if we have just everything centrally, we create well-governed systems, but which are missing work because they are not doing exactly what we on the edge expect. And on the other side, if we just let everybody do the innovations on the field side, we're creating and booming the shadow IT, which is very difficult to govern. And with that, I would say, coming back again to, let's say, that one-person unicorn, it won't be, let's say, one person doing the work. It will be everybody having, kind of being a CEO in a boardroom, having their own set of agents and workbenches which allow them to take the decisions on daily basis. Imagine, I think our work will shift to the point that we have a queue of, let's say, your colleagues behind you asking questions on different topics, and you to make the decisions. So it will come also with a new type of mental loads on us. We are not used to the decision making on constant basis. We are very difficult with content switching, right? So these things will be creating challenges for us mentally, as well how to adjust at the work, and also the trust will be very important, because if we can't trust our delegates who do the work for us, we won't be able to make those decisions. And those two things will be shifting, and at least what I see across the enterprises. So if I should leave with one, it would be buy the models, buy the commodity, and build that intelligence layer in your organizations. Thank you.